All right. The juicy one I'm excited to get to here. Harry Potter casting. Yay. Yay, Harry Potter casting.
Is that how you feel?
Woo. Yay. I'm just buying time while I pull up this question. Here it is. Gabriel at Patreon. This is going to just be a way to help set us up for some things to explore. And I feel like Roxy probably has some cool opinions about this.
I don't know if you're going to think that afterwards.
First order of business. We got the three main characters cast. Don't be douchebags to them. They're children. Be nice. Gabriel says, do you think the race swap of both Hermione and Snape in the upcoming Harry Potter HBO series will bring problematic issues with some storylines? I personally don't give a damn about swapping race nationality, but I find it odd that so far it was done pretty much just for those two characters. He elaborates. Snape getting bullied might add an unwanted perception that his ethnicity is one of the reasons why James and company are picking on him constantly. I think the only way to make it not about it is if they also cast a non-white actor as Lupin. Obviously can't be Sirius. Would be too on the nose. I think they're changing it from Sirius Black to Sirius White, right, John? I'm just joking.
I was like, whoa, really?
I started giggling and I was like, no.
Serious cis white man.
Serious cis white male can't be Pettigrew, considering it would be iffy to swap race for a character that despicable could seem targeted. That's interesting. And as for Hermione, being bullied as a mudblood takes a whole new dimension. Does it? I never thought about that. And so was a quest to free the house elves from slavery in the fourth book. Oh, damn. That's a plot that was left out of the movie. But that could actually work better. What do you guys think? Roxy. What is, what's the first thing that's coming to mind for you? I want you to be so honest.
Okay. Because you might never invite me back on.
Yeah. I don't like honesty. So let's try this.
If you care.
I care.
If you care that Hermione was cast as somebody who may not be white 100%, you are a loser.
Okay.
You're a loser. Like, there is so much to care about in the world. I don't understand how people spend their time on this. And let's be clear, this is not a race swap. Nowhere in the Harry Potter books do they call Hermione a white girl. They say she has brown, frizzy hair. So in the play, Hermione is black. In the movie, Hermione is white. And in this new show, Hermione is, we don't even know. We don't even know what race she is, which is why race is so stupid in the first place, because people online are making fun of her for being too white, too black, too Hispanic, too Asian. We don't even know her race because she's slightly brown. Now everybody just thinks they can guess what she is and who she is. Are you the biggest loser on the planet that this is how you're spending your time? This is not to the person who sent in the question. They were respectful and they bring in points about plot, about calling somebody a mudblood that a lot of people online are talking about right now. And I understand why. But if you care that Hermione is not 100% white, I think you are out of your mind, the most privileged person I've ever met, if that's what your biggest problem is. That's crazy. Get a life. Get a life. This is a child. She's so cute. The whole cast is so cute. They're kids. What's wrong with people? What is wrong with you? This race swap. Said who? Not even J.K. Rowling, TERF herself, cares about this. Not even J.K. J.K. was like, I didn't describe her as white. I'm sure there were little girls who grew up reading the Harry Potter books who didn't think she was white because she was not called white. And usually we picture some version of ourselves, the closest to. Race swap? From what? The movie that was based off the IP where it didn't say that? You idiots. That's how I feel. I want to shake the internet so hard. Why is this your problem? Leave her alone. And let this little tan girl whose race we don't even know just do a great job because she out-auditioned 10,000 girls. 10,000 girls auditioned for this and she was the best. What is your problem? Like, that's how I feel about this story. Greg, how do you feel?
I want your opinion on Kanye West now.
Well, he's no longer an anti-Semite, so he's no longer my problem.
I actually have a tweet here for you guys.
And I know. I don't mean to get that dramatic, but it's just like, what is wrong with these grown-ass adults who are upset that she's like, what? What's your real problem here?
I feel like the word woke and has been weaponized and has been breeded down into a whole variety of different subsections. If there's even the slightest different change in race from what we're used to, people outrage. And there's also a side of the internet, people who host videos, create videos, who see a lot of these things as golden opportunities to make a shit ton of money, and has fed into this crowd that can totally feed off of something that people probably don't give a shit about. And it's an adaptation. So the first thing that people had heard a while ago is that Severus Snape is going to be played by a black actor. And then this casting with Hermione, which honestly I didn't even notice that she wasn't white here.
We don't even know if she. We don't know.
I don't know. She doesn't look like something distractingly different to me. Yeah. Like, when I saw Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, I'll be totally honest, I did not know they cast a black person to play Hermione. And it takes a couple seconds to wrap your head around it when you're like, oh yeah, I like, this guy looks like Daniel Radcliffe, and I've been hanging out with him in this play. Oh, Hermione's here. Oh, I didn't know that was Hermione. That's a black actress. I would love to be the cool guy who's like instant switch. I immediately adjusted. It took me like a couple minutes to adjust to it.
Because she didn't look like Emma Watson?
No, because that's my only perception that I have of Hermione, and especially when you have someone who looks like Daniel Radcliffe, who was in the play, at least in the version that I was watching
Totally.
at the time. But I'm going to be there for a couple hours. I can take a couple minutes to readjust, and then I'm past it. And then I'm not seeing it anymore. I don't think about it anymore.
Because she was good?
Yeah, because she's good, and I enjoyed what they did with her character there. Likewise here, I think when it comes to adaptations, like the reality is a lot. When people are saying like, "Hey, they do this like this in the comics, so it should be this way." I'm like, most people who watch comic book movies, who like comic book movies, probably don't enjoy reading comics. They probably I'm saying they don't read them. I'm saying they probably don't even enjoy it. Likewise for people with Harry Potter. Most people who've seen the Harry Potter movies, I would venture to guess most people did not read the books. Most people only have an association with the movies. And we have this nostalgia thing where we want to, I think what people want is for people to reflect the casting of the movies that they grew up on instead. So when they try to use like the book as a reference, I feel like a lot of people are like, actually really researching to be like, where can this, so I could have it in my defense that Snape shouldn't be a black guy. Let me just try to, because I'm like, I'm sure they don't fucking remember this off the top of their head as an impression that was made to them. Vast
so
majority.
On page 47 of book 4, where whatever, I know what you mean.
They don't. They're just looking for something, because I think anger and rage is an easy thing to latch onto. And yeah, it's really not a big deal. And here's the truth too. If it adds additional subtext, like what Gabriel was talking about, like, good, it's more interesting to me. To me, I'm like, it's a more interesting show then. I think the conversation about like the subtext and race stuff can be an interesting conversation to be had. I watched the Fantastic Beasts movies recently, and they seemed a little bit shy of, maybe you'll remember them, John. I think they're shied away from the gay stuff in there. They had Dumbledore and Grindelwald, who had this former love relationship, and I feel like they really shied away from the homosexuality in that film. And I'm like, well, go full gay if you got gay people in this show. Might as well just really lean into it and go all out. So I'm of that camp that goes, hey, if it lends itself to having something a little bit more interesting as opposed to just a longer version of what we already got in the movies, I say do it. I say have fun. Because movies are so fucking huge that you might as well do something a little different.
Yeah. Speaking of doing something a little bit different, Greg, one time you and Tara were talking about like, things you wanted to see from the show. And you guys were talking about wanting to see more Quidditch.
Yeah.
And this is the cool thing about doing a show. This is why, of all the mediums, television is my jam. Because you get to actually explore character more and you get to have things that weren't even in the book, things that definitely weren't in the movie, more character development. And like you're talking about, I think that you need to be able to have many layers with your characters when they're television characters, especially for a show that's going to last years long and have dozens of episodes. So do I think that it kind of makes sense for her to be ethnically ambiguous and being called a mudblood? And wondering and having people question her ability to do magic while also questioning her ability to fit in a school that is predominantly white. I think that's interesting. And I think that's relatable to a lot of different people. I don't think that makes the story worse. And I also don't think it takes away from the original story. I think it's true to the story while adding layers to it. So I just can't imagine a world in which I care about this. If the show sucks, then it sucks. And if it's poorly done, then it's poorly done. And if race becomes an element of the plot and that's not well done, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
But if the best actors for the job get the job and then they do a great job and the show is great, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? And I totally understand what you were talking about earlier, taking a second to adjust. That happens with anything that's different than how we picture things in our imagination and our mind, whether it's because you read the book or even, you talked to Coy about this before, and I've talked about this too as a comic book reader. When you read somebody's name one way for your entire life, and then suddenly that character is in a movie and their name is pronounced different than you've been reading it. And it takes a second to adjust because you're like, that's not how I read it. That's what? You're out here saying Falcone and I'm saying Falcone.
Yeah.
What? Which one of us is? And so sometimes it takes a second, but then if it goes away because we get new experiences and have new imagination. So I just wish this wasn't even a conversation. I can't believe that it is. And especially around a child who just got the opportunity of a lifetime. This will be life-changing for these kids and hopefully in a positive way, especially after Emma Watson had the absolute worst experience ever. I don't know if you remember any of this. What happened with her?
I mean, I watched the reunion. It seemed like she had there was a point where she wanted to quit. She had a hard time around the fifth movie.
Sorry, on set she had a great experience, but just like as a young woman in the industry, and like turning 18, wild. People trying to upskirt her, sexualizing her. She was put through the ringer after being a child, and I just think, for lack of better words, I know people hate this phrase now, but like, do better, bro.
Yeah.
Like, what? And we still don't even know what her race is. That's the most hysterical part of it all. She could come out tomorrow and say, I'm white. I'm actually white. I went to the beach, bro. Like, this is crazy.
I mean, when I saw the Harry Potter movies, I couldn't help but notice, like, oh, look, there's like a couple black people here. Hey, there's one to two Asian people here. But they're in London. Like, it's very ethnically diverse out there. Why not make it more ethnically diverse? I think that's okay. I know people are scared of talking about that in a positive way. People, for some reason, are like, when we talk about diversity casting, a lot of the time it's either people are outraged or we go, it shouldn't matter. And I'm like, well, sometimes I think it does matter. Sometimes I think it's a really good thing to do it, to show that it doesn't matter that they're not white and that it could still be as effective and that you can give a black person, an Asian person some actual main supporting roles or leading roles. I think that's an important thing. And, you know, I'm Filipino. I rarely hear Filipinos being upset about not being represented and stuff. And part of me when I'm watching these movies, I'm like, yeah, it'd be kind of cool if like, what if they put a Filipino person in, like I'll see like actors who I find out are Filipino, but I don't often see them playing a specific Filipino character.
So
like,
fair.
Like Dave Bautista is a Filipino, Haley Steinfeld, Filipino. And they play a lot of characters, but I've never seen them play specifically a Filipino character. You never hear me bitch about it. I never complain about it. But would I like to see more? Like, yeah, when I think about it, yeah, it actually would be pretty cool to see more Filipinos playing actual Filipino people in the movies, And so I think that's why I was saying, if the race is a part of the story, I think it's better. John and I really enjoy, and this is where a lot of people will probably not agree with us, we enjoy Ncuti Gatwa as the new Doctor in Doctor Who, first Black Doctor. And whenever they decide to actually do an episode that leans into the fact that he's Black, I think it works so much better.
That's the guy from Sex Education that I love?
Yeah. I think it works a lot better. I mean, you were asking about Captain America Brave New World earlier. And I'm like, yeah, I think in the show it works really well because they lean into the fact that he's going to be Black Captain America, a Black Captain America, and what does that mean? Whereas the movie shies away from that conversation, and I'm like, no, but Falcon and Winter Soldier is great because part of that they lean into it. So I say, fucking lean into it. Don't be chicken shit, and don't be scared about some camp of people being upset. And
I totally understand. I think that's completely fair. And also would make for better art and better experiences for the audience. Mm-hmm. I do think that there are roles that are white roles that don't make sense for somebody who's not white to play. And there are roles that are played by Black people that wouldn't make sense for somebody who's not Black to play. And there are roles for Asian people and for Latino people. There are roles for people that don't make sense if it's not that specific role. If your race has to do with your character, this isn't that.
No.
Hermione is not that.
No.
So why are we talking about it? It's not relevant to her character, and to be a young Black girl at a school where most people are not, then it becomes relevant and it does become part of her story. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but just there's nothing about this character that has to be white.
No. I agree, and I think I didn't expect to be such a champion of this in this conversation, but it got me thinking about one weird thing. I remember learning the name James Wan, knowing that name for so many years before I ever heard him speak. And then I hear him speak, and he has an Australian accent. And I'm not used to seeing Asian people with an Australian accent. So it was like, whoa, that's kind of like fucking weird, but come to find out there's a bunch of Asian people in Australia. And so I think represent it because it's normal. That's the thing. It's fucking normal.
Yes.
And so we don't have to be preachy about anything, but it's not abnormal.
It's representative of our world.
Yeah. I think it's more relative. It's more relatable. Because it's actually a normal thing, and to have a British accent, it's a nationality that they have. It's not a race thing that for Hermione. And yeah, I saw the image too, and I didn't even question if she was white or not.
And I think to this moment, John can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they've made an announcement about her race.
No.
I don't think we have any kind of awareness, and so watching people online get pissed, speculating oh, this Asian girl, and then the same, across the aisle is oh, this Black girl. And it's you guys don't even know who you're mad at.
What really angers me is the immeasurable insensitivity that people have to come on, how fucking stupid are you? How after all this time do you realize hey, maybe bullying a child is not a smart thing to do,
Bullying any person simply because of the color of their skin, you're a loser.
Yeah.
Bullying a child.
Yeah.
I think she's 8.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
That's why I know I'm going to get more heat for this than anything on the internet I've done all year. But if you care about this, if this is your hill to die on, you are a fucking loser.
Absolutely. I agree.
Grow up. Get some real problems. And leave this poor young child alone.
Leave the children alone.
Leave the children alone.
Jesus Christ.
Don't watch the show. Go ahead.
Just leave them alone.
She's 11.
She's 11. She's 11.
Arabella Stanton is 11, and the top autofill after I type her name is Arabella Stanton ethnicity. So people are trying to figure this out. She started Matilda, the stage show.
That's another thing. So I couldn't even get to this because
there's another white character canonically.
I couldn't even get to this part because of how annoying the internet was. But the casting directors on this have an amazing track record. There are 2 casting directors on this, have cast a lot of things. One of them actually did cast the Matilda musical, so that she probably had seen her in the actual musical, and that might have been how she was aware of what's her name?
Arabella Stanton.
Arabella Stanton. So that's interesting. But John, if you can find the 2 casting directors, IMDb, they have cast things that you and I and everybody loves. And so I think it's really important when we don't have any information about these actors, because Arabella's the only one who's really been in anything, and I haven't seen Matilda the musical. So to look at the casting directors, because those are the people that we're trusting, and they have annihilated across the board. It's 2 women. Sometimes they work together. Sometimes they do different projects. And whenever he has it, he can share
it's
what
Lucy
they are.
Bevan and Emily Brockman are the 2. And I see Barbie on here. The Batman. We got the Batman.
So they made Commissioner Gordon black.
That's right. They're out here.
Sons of bitches.
We got Venom in there.
It's usually with women, too, where it could be a little bit harder. I guess I mean, people were upset about Snape, but no one seemed mad about Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, the Snape issues that people seem to have specifically about like his dynamics at work, I don't know as much about, and also people villainizing a character who ends up being good and him being black at first. I only read the first couple books and I saw the movies years ago. So I would have to recall if there's any merit to any of the hate, but the Hermione one.
Yeah.
Go away.
No. I think in the show, James will just be bullying him because he's being a bully. Or he'll say like something about black people when he's bullying him, which would be an interesting moment in time.
Huh.
And I'll be like, great, I'm doing a reaction. How do I handle this?
Sweating.
Anyway.
Am I ever invited back on the podcast again? Oy vey.
You're honest. I'd rather be around an honest person than someone who's saying talking points that they feel they need to recycle. So thanks for being honest.
You're welcome.